Do you know that electromagnetic methods are also a part of geophysical techniques used for deserts and snow-covered regions? Among all the geophysical methods, the electromagnetic method of prospecting has the widest range of techniques, instrumentation, and even parameters of measurement. The electromagnetic methods are particularly useful in locating conductive bodies in high resistivity areas like deserts, snow-covered regions. These methods are used where application of galvanic methods like DC resistivity and IP are made difficult because of the high contact resistance of the ground. However, electromagnetic methods are effectively used in solving several other problems like mapping the fractures and shear zones, which often host mineralization, groundwater, and environmental problems. Basic principles of electromagnetic methods: electromagnetic spectrum and induction. The natural electromagnetic spectrum covers a wide range of frequencies from 10 to 100 Hz. In electromagnetic prospecting, frequencies as low as 0.001 Hz to as high as 102 Hz are used. While the geomagnetic depth soundings, GDS, take advantage of the lower end of frequencies, highest frequencies are used in ground-penetrating radar. At low frequencies, the propagation is dependent on the magnetic permeability and electrical conductivity of the rocks, while at high frequencies, dielectric permittivity of the rocks also plays a dominant role. According to Faraday's law of induction, if the magnetic flux in an electrical circuit changes with time, an electromotive force opposing this change, and proportional to the rate of change of flux is induced in the circuit. In a closed circuit, the EMF causes a flow of current, whose magnetic field actually opposes the change of flux. A primary, P, electromagnetic field may be established in the ground, either inductively through a large ungrounded loop, or an oscillating dipole, or conductively by employing a long grounded cable. When the electromagnetic lines of force encounter a conductor, like a sulfide ore body in the subsurface, eddy currents are induced in the conductor, giving rise to a secondary magnetic field, S, which distorts the primary field. A suitable receiver or search coil can measure the resultant field, R, thus produced. The resultant field will differ from the primary field in intensity, phase as well as direction, based on a number of factors such as frequency, conductivity, permeability, and transmitter-receiver separation, as well as the geometry of the conductor. These departures of the resultant field from the primary field constitute electromagnetic anomalies. Whatever be the amplitude, phase, or direction, the resultant field vector can be found to sweep an ellipse, which is called the ellipse of polarization. Using a suitable search coil, one can locate the plane of the ellipse and also the major and minor axes of the ellipse. Instead of a continuous wave, the ground can be excited by transient electromagnetic pulses. In this case, the secondary field induced in the ground decays gradually between the two pulses of time. This decay depends on the nature of the subsurface conductor. Thus, electromagnetic surveys can be conducted in frequency domain, FEM, or time domain, TEM, electromagnetic frequency, depth of penetration. The depth penetration of electromagnetic waves into the ground depends on the frequency of the wave, and the conductivity of the ground. The maximum or limiting depth of transmission of electromagnetic wave into the subsurface, also called as skin depth, is given as d equals 500 square root rho by f, where d is the depth of penetration of the electromagnetic field in meters, rho is the resistivity of the ground in ohm meter, and f is the frequency in hertz. This indicates the distance over which the amplitude falls to 1 a, or approximately 1/3 of its value at the surface. If the resistivity of the ground is 10 ohm meter, a frequency of 10 Hz will enable a penetration of about 500 meters. If the frequency is increased to 100 Hz, over the same ground, the depth of penetration will decrease to 160 meters. Although the depth of penetration increases with decrease of frequency, there will be a corresponding loss of resolution, or detectability of smaller bodies at depth. The wavelength, lambda equals 1 by f, of the electromagnetic field employed, should be comparable in dimension to the target of search. So depending on the target, the depth of interest, and the resistivity of the ground, electromagnetic source with a suitable frequency has to be selected. Electromagnetic surveys in frequency domain are generally conducted using 2 or more frequencies, effectively probing at 2 depths, leading to a better understanding of the subsurface. Electromagnetic response of conductors. The theoretical response of a conductor to an electromagnetic field is solved by Maxwell's equation under relevant boundary conditions. It involves calculating the mutual impedance of the source and receiver in the presence of a conductor. The interpretation of the electromagnetic anomalies is done, as in other methods, by comparing with the calculated responses of the conductors of simple shapes like sphere, infinite half-space, semi-infinite half-plane, infinite horizontal thin sheet, etc. The general assumption that the target body is a good conductor surrounded by a resistive host rock does not always hold good. A conductive overburden creates problems by a drastic reduction of the amplitude of the primary field. At higher frequencies, the effect of conductive overburden will be more pronounced. Poor bedrock conductors also respond only to higher frequencies. Further, it is difficult to distinguish a moderate conductor lying in the vicinity of a good conductor at higher frequencies. An in-phase anomaly of comparable amplitude in both high and low frequencies, or an increase in out-of-phase anomaly in lower frequency, is an indication of a good conductor. If the overburden is a horizontal slab of less than 50 ohm meter resistivity, metallic conductors as shallow as 15 to 20 meters also may go undetected. In the case of conductive host rock and overburden, the anomalies are considerably reduced. Similarly, if the magnetic permeability of conductor is not equal to that of vacuum, the response will be different. Permeability increase of n times effectively amounts to an increase of the conductivity by n times. The magnetic permeability renders the normally positive anomalies into negative anomalies and vice versa. To overcome the complexity of the theoretical approach, model experiments are conducted in laboratory, which yield what are called vector diagrams or phase diagrams. The field profiles obtained are compared and interpreted with the help of these diagrams.